Welcome back, Trailblazers. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to take a moment to talk about a tool that has completely transformed the way I plan and navigate my hikes, AllTrails Plus. As a Trailheads Ambassador and the organizer of the Yakima Valley Trekkers, I'm out on the trails a lot. One of my favorite features of AllTrails Plus is the ability to edit and create my own maps. Conditions change, fallen trees, washed out sections, or even a last-minute reroute. And with AllTrails Plus, I can adjust my route on the fly and share it with others so everyone stays informed and safe. AllTrails Plus also gives you offline maps, wrong turn alerts, and 3D trail previews to help you stay on track and make the most of your adventure. And the best part, you can get 30% off an AllTrails Plus membership with my exclusive link in the episode show notes. So whether you're planning your next big trek or just looking for a new trail to explore, AllTrails Plus has you covered. Check it out and let's hit the trail. Welcome to Season 12 of the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I'm your host, Ivan, and each week we're hitting the trail through conversations with extraordinary hikers from across the United States and beyond. Fall is one of those magical times to be outdoors. The air is crisp, the trails are lined with golden leaves, and every step feels like an invitation to slow down and soak in the season. This year, I've had the privilege of sitting down with hikers who bring the same richness to their stories. From through hikers reflecting on lessons learned to everyday adventurers chasing larch season and finding peace on quiet trails, their voices remind us that the outdoors isn't just about reaching summits. It's about connection, reflection, and discovery. So lace up your boots, grab your favorite warm drink for the trail, and get ready. Season 12 is here, and the conversations ahead are as colorful as the fall landscapes we love. Season 12 continues with a journey shaped by deserts, road trips, and unexpected trail moments. Meet Lyndsay, AllTrails Ambassador, science teacher, and a lifelong explorer, whose story stretches from childhood camping trips in Ohio to solo hikes across the Southwest, from a 28-day family road trip that sparked her love for travel, to being stalked by coyotes at dusk, to discovering just how alive Death Valley really is. Lyndsay shows us the beauty in both the big adventures and the small details. Her reflections on safety, solo hiking, and doing hard things will inspire you to embrace challenges and see the outdoors with new eyes. Without further ado, let's jump into this episode with our guest, Lyndsay. Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of the Hikes and Mikes podcast. I have a really exciting guest with me today that I'm looking forward to hearing about all her travel adventures across the United States. Her name is Lyndsay, and she's going to be sharing about her experiences with the outdoors as well as with her travels. Lyndsay, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. We always like to start off by having our guests share a little bit about themselves and how they got started hiking.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I am honored to be on this podcast because I've been following it for so long and so many different guests. It's just really great. So thank you so much for having me. So just a little bit about me. So I'm Lyndsay. I'm 37. I am originally from the Cleveland, Ohio area. So I grew up there, lived there for 25 years, and then was able to move out west to California. And then now I'm in Las Vegas. So really, I'm a Midwest girl at heart, but definitely the West Coast is like home for me. So love it. I am married to my best friend of 31 years. And we have our toy poodle, Archie, who's 11 years old. And so if anyone's listening and you see in my profile, you'll see pictures of Archie. He's my little buddy. And just a couple other things. I am a science teacher. So I teach online, which is really cool, through a platform called OutSchool. And so I teach various types of science, mainly astronomy, but I teach like astronomy, dinosaurs, all that stuff. So that's a lot of fun. I love everything with the outdoors. I started hiking when I got to LA because the climate was different. So, in Ohio, you have all the snow in the winter, and while people like to recreate in the winter, it's not necessarily for me. So really moving to California is what got me into the outdoors and into hiking.
For me personally, I have a few places in Ohio that I'm looking forward to checking off the bucket list. Specifically, Hocking Hills State Park, I believe. That's on the top of the list. I know that there's the national park, but that state park has been calling calling my name for like the last 2 years. And I'm wondering, Lyndsay, growing up in Ohio and in the Midwest, the outdoor scene is a little bit different, but there's still a lot of beautiful state parks, natural preserve areas, even national parks. How was it making the move out west? Did that really kick off your outdoor experience, or did you kind of dabble in it when you were based out of the Midwest?
Really thinking back to it, I guess I dabbled in it when I was a kid because, being my age, I feel like we were the last generation of people who got to play outside, before cell phones, social media, all of that. So we grew up camping every year. We would camp at Kelly's Island State Park, actually. It's an island on Lake Erie in Ohio. My parents now have a house there, but we grew up there doing like naturalist programs, like learning with all the animals, learning all about, the landscape. And then we just spent a lot of time outdoors. We went to parks all the time. And also you mentioned Hocking Hills. We went to Hocking Hills a couple times and it really is beautiful. Like the pictures that you see, it really does look like that. Cuyahoga Valley National Park is nice. But if you have to choose between the two, I would do Hocking Hills. Yeah, so Ohio has a lot of great things. And so I guess I did really kind of start with my love for the outdoors there. But once I moved west, things definitely changed. So like I had said before, the summers in Ohio are very nice, but throughout the winter, really, it's not a hiking thing. But in LA, I was able to hike throughout the whole year. And then hiking is such a big part of Southern California, I think. And so I lived really close to Eaton Canyon. So we would hike at Eaton Canyon every single weekend. And so really my love for hiking came from that. And then from there, it was just, I was always into hiking, into doing outdoor stuff. And then now in Las Vegas, it's really nice because even though the summers are horribly hot and I don't really do much during the summer, the rest of the year is perfect. So being out west, different types of climates, different types of landscape really kind of opened up a whole new world. And so now out here, I would say I'm a lot more active outdoors than I probably was when I was in Ohio.
One thing that is a common theme in your Instagram is your love for travel. And one of the things we noticed on your Instagram is that kind of started early on for you because, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a 28-day road trip with your family when you were in your teens that kind of changed your life. What do you remember most vividly about that trip, and how did it shape the traveler you are today?
That's a great question. I love thinking about that trip. I was just so lucky. So when I was 17, my mom, she wanted to plan this big trip. We had to go to San Diego for the thing for my dad's business. And my mom has always been into traveling. And so she decided that she wanted to create this itinerary of 4 weeks. So taking 2 weeks to get to San Diego and 2 weeks back to Ohio. And of course, being 17, I was like totally against it. I'm like, no, I want to stay here with my friends and my boyfriend because that's what matters, right? But then as we're getting into it, realizing, I guess that was really the first time that I had been, it would have been the first time I really had been out west. So meeting different types of people, seeing totally different landscapes and all of that was just really, really cool. So we went so many places. We went through like South Dakota, Wyoming, Utah, and then ended up coming back through like Arizona, New Mexico, all of that. So thinking of like vivid memory, this is not even a hiking memory, but it's just a funny one to me. So being a teenager wanting to call my friends, we're staying at this place outside of Yellowstone in these cabins. I don't even know exactly where it was. And we get there and they don't have a TV at all. And so my younger brother and I are like, oh my gosh, they don't have TV, they don't have internet, nothing. And then to make phone calls, you remember calling cards? I had those calling cards. And then they had a payphone. So I'm like using these cards, using this payphone, trying to call my friends. That just stands out because I think it's so funny. Yeah, so that was cool. Being in Yellowstone really was amazing. We got to see a moose. We got to see black bears. That was really, really cool. And then another vivid memory was in Sedona. Actually, you had mentioned Sedona earlier. Sedona was so cool, especially because, again, this is before cell phones and social media and all that. So it's like totally different. But my mom, she's real artsy. She's into the vortexes and the portals and all that. So we went to Sedona and we were like looking for the vortexes and I did a pink Jeep tour. And Sedona just blew me away, like, because I hadn't seen anything like that before. So really, that is where my love for the desert came from. So I guess it's impacted me 20 years later still because I love the desert. It's my favorite landscape. So I think really that trip made me really appreciate the outdoors, really appreciate the natural world. And also, it was very inspiring that my mom planned this whole trip. It's just really cool. It gives me confidence to know that my mom is able to do something like that and a whole 28 days. So today, I do a lot of road trips. It's my favorite way to travel. And I attribute that to my parents, especially my mom, for planning the whole thing. I mean, printed out MapQuest directions and everything.
Oh man, you're bringing back some memories, not just with the calling cards, but I remember my first big road trip with friends thinking we didn't have to bring our big book of maps for traveling. It was from AAA.
Oh, yeah.
We thought we were so ahead of the curve by printing out MapQuest directions to our destinations. Yeah, how times have changed.
I know, right? In only 20 years, and it's totally different.
I think with people that not just hike and enjoy the outdoors, but even with just traveling, especially in places like Sedona, Yellowstone, you get to experience some interesting and sometimes wild moments on and off the trail with critters, especially. One thing that you shared with us on Instagram was your squirrel bite, but you've also rolled your ankle. I think a lot of us have rolled ankles on the trail. Can you share one of your most I can't believe this is happening moments while on or off the trail?
All right. Well, of course, really quickly, off the trail was this squirrel bite that happened a few weeks ago. And it was literally the day before I was leaving for my California trip. I'm like at the urgent care. But anyway, so that was off trail. But that was just like, wow, I can't believe this is happening. Who gets bit by a squirrel? Which, for the record, it was a baby squirrel. It was very scared. But on the trail had to do with coyotes. So I'm not generally like fearful of coyotes. We have them all over here. It's all good. But it was sunset. I was walking. It was a trail. I don't remember the name, but I was going through Blue Diamond. So if anyone's familiar with Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area in Vegas, there's a little town called Blue Diamond next to it. So I'm doing this hike, and I solo hike generally, and it was coming to sunset. So I'm walking down it. Actually, it was the Old Spanish Trail. So I'm just walking down the Old Spanish Trail, which is super cool. And I see a coyote like coming toward me. So I love animals. So I'm just like, oh my God, get out my phone, of course. Taking pictures of this really cute coyote, getting a video of it. And then I see there's another coyote. So now there's two of them, only one of me. I have snacks in my bag. I have like those chomp snacks. So, I mean, I have food and it's dusk. And so I'm like, okay, I know to just kind of like stay away. And I'm just going to walk past them. And so what they did, I turned around at one point. They had gone, okay, so it's kind of hard to imagine. So say I'm like walking down the trail, right? The coyotes, each one went a different way and circled around behind me. I turn around and they're stalking me. And it terrified me because they're hungry, like it's nighttime, like I'm by myself, there's two of them. And again, usually I'm not fearful of coyotes, but this gave me all the wrong vibes. I'm like, okay, I feel like they're like on the whole like predator kind of thing right now. I'm just glad that I had an idea of what to do. Like if they were going to come for me, I'm like, I'll just throw my pack at them. They can have whatever they want. That did actually scare me. And that was I can't believe this is happening moment because again, I was by myself and I didn't know it was going to happen. So luckily everything ended up well. I got back to my car. I sat in there for a little bit, saw another coyote walk by. I'm like, oh my gosh, but it ended all well, all good and all that. But yeah, that was kind of crazy.
Oh my goodness. That's a really tense moment. I feel like one coyote, I would feel okay, but two or more, and especially if they're acting like predators, I would be a little shaken as well. And I'm glad everything was fine. But good to know. I've visited Red Rocks a few times and didn't think that there was much wildlife outside of not bighorn sheep. It's
So they have sheep. Well, do they have bighorn sheep in Red Rock now that I think about it? They have it in Valley of Fire. Well, now I'm like, I should know this. But they have mule deer, mountain lions, coyotes, all that kind of stuff. Burros, donkeys, that's the other one. They're all over.
And the tortoises, right?
Oh, the tortoises. Yes, the tortoises.
That's one thing I vividly remember from doing the loop is the tortoise crossing signs. Now, Lyndsay, you've been able to hike at some major iconic national parks, including Death Valley, Redwoods, all the way up to Crater Lake. Has there been a national park that you visited in recent memory that surprised you the most? And what about it surprised you?
So thinking about that, of the parks I've been to that really surprised me, Death Valley is actually the one that really surprised me. Death Valley is my favorite national park. It might change someday once I get to more parks, but Death Valley blew me away. So I've been to Death Valley now 6 times. The last time was on my way home from my California trip. And Death Valley is incredible because you think that there's nothing there. You think that it's just this bland desert. You know, a lot of it is just beige. The Mojave Desert is beige. You know, we don't have the red that, you know, Sedona has. And you're just like, well, there's not much here. But Death Valley is massive. It's the biggest national park in the lower 48. And so there's so many different aspects to it. So I'm there and there's Artist Palette where you have the mountains, well, hills kind of are various colors. You've got Zabriskie Point, which is really cool. They filmed a Twilight Zone episode on Zabriskie Point. I just watched it recently, and I was like, oh my gosh, I know where that is. They have this Ubehebe crater, which is a volcanic crater, steam volcano. I hiked around it. I hiked down into it, which was kind of hard to come back up, but it was cool. Last time I was there, I hiked to a waterfall in a canyon that luckily I found out from, shout out to Meg Lord Hikes. She told me about that. There's also another waterfall, Darwin Falls in Death Valley. And even before it was washed out by the floods, if anyone knows about the floods that happened a couple years ago during Hurricane Hillary and all that, Saltwater Creek is a salty creek, and they had a boardwalk and has pupfish in it. So you don't imagine fish being in Death Valley. You know, you think Death Valley, you think death, nothing can survive, but that's not actually why it's called Death Valley. But that's what a lot of people associate it with, me included. And every time I go back, I just notice more and more things. And it really is such a beautiful, expansive park with tons of wildlife. You just have to kind of look around. I mean, I've seen all types of wildlife there. And I found a bobcat skull when I was there hiking to the one waterfall, which was wild. I've never seen anything like that in the wild. So it's just such an epic park. And I mean, definitely don't ever go in the summer. That's a horrible idea, but it really is so beautiful. It really is.
I don't know if you believe in signs, Lyndsay, but you are the third guest in a short period of time, I feel like in like 3 weeks, that Death Valley is a standout park for them. I haven't made it to any of the California national parks yet. I think this is a sign that Death Valley should be at the top of the list before it gets too hot. Because like you said, it is way more than what you think it is. You have this visual of a desert, but the closer you look, the more you can see that this has some hidden gems all over the place.
Yeah. And one thing I want to note is that part of Death Valley is Ash Meadows National Wildlife Refuge. And some people may have heard of the devil's pupfish. So pupfish are they're all endangered in various areas here. The desert is full of aquifers, but these pupfish are highly endangered, and they live in this small little like blue hole kind of cave thing, and you're not allowed to go in it. Like, it's totally blocked off. But it's really cool because then that's another place that you have this underground aquifer. You have these pupfish that don't live anywhere else in the world. That area, that one spot, is the only place that they live. And so it's just really cool that you just can find a little bit of everything, it seems, in Death Valley. I mean, you can even hike up to Telescope Peak, which is at, I think, like 12,000. And then Badwater Basin, the salt flat, is 282 feet below sea level. And if people were lucky enough to go last year, 2024, Lake Manly was there. Lake Manly is never there on Badwater Basin. It rained so much and there was all that flooding, but it also filled the basin with water. So yeah, Death Valley is it's full of gems, and I think it is totally a sign that you need to go.
Yeah. It's a priority now that I'll have to visit. Lyndsay, I'm glad that you mentioned that, there's those washouts on certain roads in the park. Have they been able to open open a few of those roads back up?
Yes. So they were finally able to open the roads from the 2024 thing because we had this atmospheric flooding. I'm only 2 hours from Death Valley, so when I say we, I'm talking about that. But they had this atmospheric flooding in February 2024, and that's what that and the hurricane. Things got crazy. It all flooded out and they were able to fix it. However, last week, the day after I drove through Death Valley to get home, they got a bunch of rain. I guess there was a tropical storm. So the roads flooded again. So now some of the roads are flooded, damaged from the flood, and they need to fix that. So a bunch of the roads are not available to use. But the main roads, I believe, are all open. So there's at least that. Yeah.
Now, Lyndsay, you mentioned that one of your favorite forms of travel is doing these solo road trips. And you drew inspiration from that 28-day road trip that you did as a teenager. For you as an adult now, what draws you back to that style of travel?
I have to give credit to not only to my mom for instilling that in me, but also my bestie, Kayla. So Kayla, she lives in Ohio. We've been best friends for a really, really long time. And she would actually come out here after COVID and all that, came out here and we would plan road trips. And so we did like a Nevada one. We did one in Arizona. We did one in Utah. And she's so good at planning things. She knows all the places to stop. And unfortunately, she's not able to come back and do that, at least for a while. But I wanted to continue to do it. So I took that inspiration from her. And so I think really with the 28-day trip as a kid or teen, and then with my bestie, I really love it. I love the freedom that road trips give you. You're not on a schedule, which is why I really like solo traveling. I love not being on a schedule. I love being able to stop wherever I want, whenever I want. And when it has to do with flying, it's like you're on a schedule and, you want to make sure you get there on time, blah, blah, and get a rental car. And I have done that. Actually, you mentioned Crater Lake and the Redwoods. That was my trip last year. I flew into Arcata, Eureka, and then did a road trip through the Redwoods in Southern Oregon. It is funny because I guess I do keep coming back to these solo road trips, but I feel like these trips really help me to figure out who I am and what I enjoy.
Yeah. And, one thing that I love about your platform is you've been able to share some really thoughtful safety tips when it comes to solo hiking and traveling. I think for those that are interested and maybe have a little anxiety or fear of solo traveling and hiking, it could be a little daunting, but you've been able to share some really great tips for those that are interested in maybe going on a solo adventure. Is there one habit that has maybe saved you the most stress, whether you're traveling or on the trail, that you could share with the community?
Definitely. And this is one that I think you'll hear from a lot of people, but telling someone where you are and where you're going. I listen to a podcast, if I can shout it out, National Park After Dark, and they're great. And so I actually listen to them while I'm always on my road trip because they tell stories of things that have happened in parks. One of the big things when situations go awry is that no one knows where that person is. When I'm hiking, when I'm traveling, whatever it is, I always make sure I tell my husband where I'm going. He has access to my location at all times. So having that, knowing when to be, okay, I'll be back by this time. So that is a really big deal. Telling people where you are, telling them when you're expected to be back is probably the biggest one. And then the other one that I recommend is that I always have a power bank with me for my cell phone because I was on a hike once, my phone almost died, and I had really bad anxiety about it. So having a power bank to make sure that I can charge my phone if it's dying for whatever reason is really helpful. So I feel like it all has to do with contact with the outside world, I guess. People, again, knowing where you are and just being aware of your surroundings as well.
That's very true. I don't know if I shared this story, but back in the day, I had an interesting wildlife encounter where I think it was like a Sunday and I wanted to go out on a hike. So just spur of the moment, I'm like, oh, let me go do this 3-mile hike. It's really quick and easy. And it was on a whim. I didn't tell anybody. I just kind of went. And then it was one of those days where there was nobody else on the trail and about half a mile in, I just see this large blob of fur go across the trail ahead of me. And I'm like, I have no idea what that was. I don't know if that was a black bear or if that was a cougar or an elk. But like in my head, I'm thinking like, I am out here all alone and nobody knows that I'm here. And
Oh, no.
that it was that instant like chicken skin, and I had to walk backwards until I felt safe enough, and then just went back to the trailhead. And I was like, yeah, I need to start letting people know, even if it's on a whim, just like, hey, I'm going to go on a quick hike. This is where I'm going. I'll let you know when I'm back, because you just never know.
Yeah, I feel like that's your sign to tell you that, okay, you only got half a mile. This happened. Could have been bad. Let's not do that again, and make sure I tell people. So at least nothing bad happened that got you to that realization.
Right. And the power bank is so clutch, especially nowadays if I'm tracking a hike. If I don't switch it to airplane mode or battery saver, tracking a hike, especially if you're using GPS, will drain your battery way faster than you think. And I've definitely been there where I'm like at 5% battery and I still have, a few miles to go. And I'm just like, oh, I need a power bank, or I need to make sure I have a way to charge it once I get to the vehicle. Now, Lyndsay, you've been able to have some other great wildlife experiences. One of them I personally loved in Arizona was seeing wild horses, but you've been able to post about the wild horses in Nevada. I recently just saw my first banana slug in the wild about 2 weeks ago. What's been some of your most memorable wildlife encounters that you've had over the years?
So let me just tell you my quick first banana slug experience, and then I'm going to tell you about the coolest wildlife encounter I had. So banana slugs, I didn't know about them, and I was at the Redwoods, and I looked down at this mushroom, and there's this giant yellow thing, like, eating it. And I freaked out. I'm like, what is this? I don't understand. I take a picture, post it to my stories. Everyone's like, oh, it's a banana slug. I'm like, oh, no big deal. But now I'm like totally obsessed with them. I have like this massive magnet that looks like a banana slug. It's awesome. They're just so cool and cute. And we just don't have anything like that in Vegas. So I just love it. But the best wildlife encounter I had was last August. I saw 3 Mojave Desert tortoises in Mojave National Preserve in California, all in one day. I had never seen one in the wild. I still haven't seen one in the wild since, but I saw 3 in one day. And I was actually messaging Grant. We had mentioned him earlier. Messaging Grant, like, I can't believe that I actually found 3 in one day. And so I had to call the Mojave National Preserve, and this is a Saturday. So one of them was a younger tortoise, and its burrow was right by the road. And this road isn't heavily traveled, but I mean, people still go really fast. And so I had to call and be like, hey, this burrow is really close. I don't know if it'll need to be relocated. Just want to let you know. But in that same time, there was another tortoise that was just in the road. It was just sitting in the road. And I'm telling the guy, I'm like, I don't want this tortoise to get hit. Tortoises, unfortunately, get hit by cars all the time. And so he advised me to pick up the tortoise and move it to the side of the road. So I was nervous because you're always told don't pick up tortoises. Like, don't ever pick them up unless they are in danger. Because the thing is that tortoises, if they get scared, they'll pee. And if that happens, they'll dehydrate and they can die. So the guy told me, he's like, okay, just pick it up really gently, keep it low to the ground, move it slowly, which is another thing that I didn't even think about. Tortoises go so slow that if you were to move them quickly, it's going to like mess everything up for them. So you have to just like move it slowly. And I got him to the side of the road, and finally I just watched him walk off and like not a care in the world. And so I'm really grateful to the guy at Mojave National Preserve for being able to help me with that, because there was no way I was leaving until I knew these tortoises were okay. So that was a really cool day, really cool encounter, especially because I got to touch the tortoise where otherwise I never would. I would never touch wildlife. But in this case, I did have permission. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really magical. I think Grant was able to share that, the numbers of tortoises there are dwindling. And I believe a lot of it has to do with accidents, like you said, but also I think the crows or ravens there are dwindling them down when they're hatching. I haven't had a chance to see a tortoise, but I know it's a magical thing if you do come across it.
Yeah, I felt really lucky. And one thing if it's okay to say this, put out here real quick. If anyone's in the desert, always check under your car before you drive away, because tortoises, especially when it's hot, will hide under your car in the shade to cool down. So that's just a big thing. I learned that from Joshua Tree National Park. But yeah, so that's something, just always make sure you look under your cars if you're anywhere where tortoises are.
Oh, that's a great tip. I mean, it makes sense, but yeah, I would have not thought of it unless someone mentioned. Now, Lyndsay, you're also AllTrails Ambassador. I think AllTrails is the leader when it comes to finding hikes all over the United States and even the world. What does that role mean to you, and how has it shaped your connection with the hiking community?
So, okay, being an AllTrails ambassador really is amazing. They're such a great company. The people involved are all amazing. The role for me, I mean, really it means being a steward for the wild. They want to make sure that everyone is recreating responsibly and doing any type of conservation we can and respecting just nature. And so I feel like, being an AllTrails ambassador, I'm able to share that message and also share fun hiking trails that people might not know about. And it's pretty cool. Like in terms of the hiking community, it's helped me to find a lot more hikers because other ambassadors are all super cool people. But it also honestly kind of makes me feel a little bit like a leader in the space. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself a leader in the hiking community, but being an ambassador for AllTrails gives me a little bit more confidence with that. And it makes me excited because I get to share about an app that is incredibly helpful that I use every single time I hike, but also to just be a voice for the hiking community. And I've met really cool people through it, and it's an honor to be an AllTrails ambassador.
A mutual friend of ours, Becca, I am Becca on Instagram. She's a fellow AllTrails ambassador, and you've been able to meet up with her. How has it been having those trail friends come offline and into the real world and be able to go out and enjoy nature with them?
It is the best. So I met Becca in person the other week when I was in Yosemite on my California trip. We had planned that specifically so I could meet her. Becca's like totally my bestie. She's the best. We had, became really good friends through Instagram, and then meeting in person, just a totally new thing because we encourage each other online. We offer support and they empower me to push myself, find out what I'm capable of. And with Becca, she and her partner showed me around Yosemite. Becca, actually, she has a bit of we call ourselves the Dizzy Girls because we both have balance issues. So that's nice to meet another person in the community who experiences the same kind of issues that I do. But yeah, I was lucky enough to meet her. I also this year met Leanne from Leanne Explores. We met in Valley of Fire, actually. I met Marcel from Just a Girl from Oz. Marcel's super cool people. She's Australian. And then I met her actually in Ohio, Cuyahoga Valley National Park. And then Megan from Schmigan Adventures. I got to meet her too a couple of weeks ago in person. And so it's really cool because it's like you're on Instagram talking to your friends, hiking, whatever. But it's totally different to be able to take that kind of relationship outside of your phone and to be in person, to be in the same room because your energy, your vibe, and so you can find out if you vibe with that person. And everyone I've met, I've totally vibed with. They're all super cool. So it's really nice to be able to find awesome friends who are like-minded and then to be able to meet them in person is just really incredible. I love the modern age of technology for that reason, being able to find friends, all over the world, really.
I think that's one of my favorite parts of the online community on Instagram is super supportive of one another. But then once you're able to meet in person, it's even a better connection. And, we were talking before we started recording. I've been able to meet up with Grant and Becca as well. Becca was amazing on our Humphreys Peak hike. Definitely was a big motivator in helping us get up that peak. I was thinking back this afternoon, actually, of my goal each year is to meet more people in person than the year prior, whether they're podcast guests or they're just people that I've met through Instagram. And last year I was able to meet 5. I'm at 5 right now. I'm going to try to see if I can meet up with one more before the end of the year, but it's definitely been a really rewarding experience to meet these people like I am Becca in person and Grant and others. Really awesome what they're doing on their platform and what you're doing on yours, Lyndsay. So I encourage people, if you have those online friendships. Try to get out there and do a hike together.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
You mentioned that you and Becca are really encouraging one another. And one thing that really is a common theme in your profile, Lyndsay, is you often encourage people to do hard things. Sometimes that might seem scary to some folks. What's been a recent hard thing that you're proud of tackling and accomplishing?
Ooh, a recent hard thing I'm proud of. So I'll give this example. If we're thinking like very recent, going to Yosemite was kind of a big deal for me because I don't do well with elevation at all. I have Meniere's disease, which is a vestibular balance disorder. And so I really struggle even, at 2,000 feet. So anything over 4,000 feet bothers me. So I was really nervous about Yosemite because I know some places are higher up and I was staying in Mammoth Lakes, which is, 8,000 or so. But I'm really glad that it seems that the way that I acclimated was the right way. And so I didn't have any issues with that. And so that was, I guess, something that just not necessarily hard, but I was really nervous about and gave me a lot of anxiety. But another incident where doing hard things, I always think back to my birthday hike. So my birthday is in April, and on my birthday, I decided to solo hike Guardian's Angel Path in Red Rock Canyon. So National Conservation Area, not the state park. It's in the Calico Basin area, so you don't have to pay to get in or anything like that. But I love AllTrails, but it told me it was like 3.5 miles, and it definitely ended up being 6 miles. So it was a lot of going uphill, and I scraped my knee. I hurt my arm. I'm still having arm pain from it. I didn't properly fuel myself beforehand, and I also am hypoglycemic, so my blood sugar will drop. I was by myself. It was getting late. It was nearing sunset. I still had like 2 miles to go. This was after the coyote incident, so I now just am always worried about being outside at night because I'm just worried about animals getting me. I actually, if I had service, I probably would have called my husband to come pick me up because it was just really difficult not eating properly. It's just way too hard to do that, especially, it's 6 miles. You have a lot of elevation gain and the trail's not necessarily like well marked. So for a lot of people, I'm sure it would be totally easy, no problem. And if I were to do it now, maybe it would be a lot easier, but that to me was a big challenge. That was the one time that I got back to the car and I hugged my car because I was so happy to finally be back. So I would say that that's kind of a hard thing that I was able to overcome. And then just overall, solo traveling in general is a hard thing. And I overcome that just because I love it so much.
That's incredible. I think two of the most rewarding feelings after a hike is taking off your shoes and slipping into something comfortable. But especially after a challenging hike, there's nothing quite like seeing your car at the trailhead. And I'm glad you were able to hug it because there's been moments where I'm like, I'm hugging the trunk, being so thankful that it's there. Oh, those are some of the two, off the trail experiences that are so rewarding and feel so good after a challenging hike.
That's very true.
Now, Lyndsay, we've talked a lot about national parks on this episode, and you've been able to, I think, cross off 13 out of the 63. And, we were talking about Great Basin, and there's a lot more on both of our lists. Is there a top 5 or next 5 that you have in your sights?
Yeah, so 13, a lucky 13, Yosemite was my 13th national park, which was amazing. Of course, Yosemite is beautiful. I think we had mentioned earlier, possibly before recording, North Cascades, which I was very surprised to learn from National Park Travel Guides that North Cascades is the least visited national park. And that just surprised me. I really want to go there. Diablo Lake is there, right? Is like that's so beautiful. We don't have anything like that here. So I would really love to go to North Cascades, especially because I haven't been to Washington and I think I'll love it. I really want to go to Glacier National Park. I'm told by everyone that I have to go to Glacier next. Every time I see a picture of Glacier, it's just incredible. So I really want to go there. I would like to go to Rocky Mountain. It's higher elevation, so I don't know exactly how I do, but anytime I see a picture from Rocky Mountain, I'm really surprised. I'm like, okay, I want to see that. Mountains are cool. And Katmai for the bears, of course, which happy Fat Bear Week, everybody. When this comes out, I think it'll be over, but yeah. And then Acadia, actually, surprisingly. So I mentioned that I'm a teacher, and I actually taught a national park class where we highlighted 10 different national parks. It was super fun, really cool, learned all about history, the wildlife. all of that. And Acadia really stood out to me. Being a science teacher, Acadia has a lot of scientific history, and it's just such a, I don't know, I just didn't expect something so beautiful to be up there in Maine. Granted, I've never been to New England, so I guess I can't say, but Acadia is one that I would love to get to as well.
All incredible national parks. And yeah, if you ever make it up to the Pacific Northwest and especially Washington State, I always recommend North Cascades National Park. It's a very unique experience, and just the peaks up there are nothing along the Cascade Range really matches what's up in North Cascades. And I think just because it's so remote, even, flying into Seattle, it's probably like a 4-hour drive. I think that's what scares people off. But Acadia, I would love to go back to Acadia and see it with the fall colors, because I can only imagine how beautiful that place is.
Oh, I bet. Oh my gosh, the foliage must be incredible up there.
Now, Lyndsay, one of our regular segments here on the podcast is we like to do a deep dive into our guest's Instagram and highlight a specific post or reel that stood out for us. And the one that stood out for us on your page was your sky or water shot at Crater Lake National Park. At first glance, it really looked like sky behind that tree, but then you moved the camera and it was actually the lake. What was going through your mind when you caught that perspective? And do you find yourself looking for those little surprises and illusions when you're out on the trail?
Wow, I love those questions. Yeah. So the sky versus water. So I took that video just kind of as a joke to my husband. So Crater Lake, that water is so blue. They're not kidding. That is the first thing I said. When I first saw the water, I was like, oh my God, that is so blue. It's truly incredible. So I'm looking at a tree and I am taking a picture of it. Crater Lake's in the background, but all you see is the water. So I'm looking at this picture and I'm like, wait, did I take this against the sky? And I'm like, no, wait a minute, that's against the water. So I just took a video as a little joke to send to my husband, but then I sent it to a couple other people and they thought it was funny. So I was like, all right, let's find out. Do people think it's sky or water? Because it really is so blue. And really, yeah, just looking at it first glance, it looks like you would imagine the sky, because you don't imagine that you're seeing a tree against a lake like that. But yeah, so that was just something that was really cool, because the water just truly is so blue and it was really cool to see. So in terms of little surprises, little things, I'm always looking for the little things. So one thing, a compliment that I've gotten a couple times is that people like how I'm always looking for the small things, especially on the ground. One thing I always do is I try to find the smallest cactus when I'm hiking. You'll find just little ones growing out. And so I always have a picture with my finger next to it. Try to find the smallest cactus. Rocks, I'm super into geology, super into I'm a hardcore science nerd. So rocks that's just so cool. And then, insects are really awesome. Little bugs are cool. We don't really have mushrooms here. We actually do have, I found a desert mushroom. I was surprised to find that. But finding mushrooms, and then also fossils, especially at Red Rock. There's a trail called Fossil Ridge Loop, which is one of my favorites. And there's fossils all along there, and they're fossils from the Precambrian era. Well, actually, I'm not sure about that. I'll have to double check. But from millions and millions of years ago, because what Red Rock is today, it used to be a lake. It used to be a saltwater ocean. So you can actually find shells and all of that down there too, on the ground. So it's just really cool. So I'm always trying to pay attention to the small things, the things that are otherwise unnoticed, just because they're really cool and it's a different type of perspective.
Yeah, I feel like lately my head's been on a swivel, because not only am I looking up at, some majestic trees, but, if you focus on what's underneath them, it's a thriving ecosystem and you can find these little gems all over the place. I didn't know there was a desert mushroom. I'll have to look that up, because that sounds interesting and I'm curious to see what it looks like.
I have a picture of it. I'll have to send it to you. Yeah, I was on a hike and I don't know how I spotted it, but it was just this little mushroom growing it was in Red Rock, growing out of the ground. And there's mycelium everywhere. Obviously, it's all over the ground. So it makes sense there would be one, but you just don't think, because it's not moist here or anything like that. So it was really surprising to see. But yeah, desert mushrooms.
Oh, what a great find. Now, Lyndsay, these last 3 questions are questions we like to ask all our guests. The first one is, when it comes to a regular summit routine, or maybe it's a end of the hike, end of the day routine, a lot of us pack our favorite snack or drink. For a lot of us, it's enjoying that moment of zen. And for many of us, it's enjoying that favorite meal afterwards. Is there a regular custom or routine that you like to do when you reach your destination or when you make it back out?
So I don't have any type of like routine when I finish the hike other than the usual get in my car, sit there, catch my breath, check my phone. But I do have like a pre-hike thing. So what I generally like to do, so I had mentioned that I'm hypoglycemic. So and for whoever doesn't know, that means my blood sugar will just drop really quickly and it drops really low. So I have to make sure I'm eating every few hours. So what I like to do is go to In-N-Out. So I don't eat fast food, but I can eat In-N-Out. And so I'll get a double protein style with just meat, cheese, and pickle. And it's fun because they'll wrap it in lettuce. And if anyone doesn't know what In-N-Out is, that's, West Coast. And so I'll get that and then I'll like eat it and then I'll start my hike. So I'm always like fueled, and it's just fun because for me, it's like, it's that little bit. I mean, because I solo hike, it's really all me time, but it's like my little preparation and gets me ready and gets me excited because I know that what's coming next is a really cool hike. So I more have a pre-hike routine, I guess. Yeah.
I like that. And, Washington State just got its first In-N-Out. It's closer to Portland than it is Seattle, but I'm just waiting for, the craziness to die down because right now it looks like you're entering a concert venue, the rows in cars that are waiting to get in. But I'm really excited to incorporate that into some post-hike or, like you said, pre-hike routines when I'm over in and around Portland.
That's really cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure if Washington had them, but then you just said that, so that's really cool. Yeah, and I know a lot of people are like anti In-N-Out, but all their food, not that this is like an ad for In-N-Out, but all their food is fresh, and so I can't have gluten, can't have a lot of stuff, so that's like one of the things I can have that makes me feel okay. So thank you, In-N-Out.
Like you said, the secret menu, you can do it protein style. What's the other one? The Flying Dutchman, where it's no bread?
Yeah, my husband gets the Flying Dutchman. It's meat and cheese, and you can get onion if you want. They also have root beer floats, just FYI, on the secret menu. So.
Oh, there we go. Gonna have to add that to the Richfield location order.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
Now, Lyndsay, when it comes to packing, whether it's for hikes or road trips, is there a luxury item that you tend to pack that falls outside of your essentials?
If we're thinking luxury in terms of like money, I guess, my camera. So that I'll always take with me. I don't always take it on my hikes unless I'm hiking somewhere like really pretty. But a lot of times my hikes are only a few miles. But definitely I always have it on me when I'm road tripping, any of that. So that's probably my luxury thing. I will say, and I'm so embarrassed to say this and I shouldn't even say it, but a luxury thing that I consider when I'm traveling is that I'm so embarrassed. I prefer to stay in hotels as opposed to camping. I need to get more comfortable hiking, but hotels and having a bathroom right in the same room, that's a luxury that I really want to have. I'm not a true outdoors person, I suppose. I'll get into camping eventually. I camped all throughout my childhood, but as an adult, I do like to have those little luxuries. So
I'm right there with you, Lyndsay. Like for the most part, I'll find a hotel or Airbnb next to, whether it's a park or a trail system. I've done car camping, but I have a sedan and, maybe it would be different if I had an SUV or a truck where I could actually like put an inflatable mattress or something on there. But it is nice to have those luxury items of a hot shower and a toilet after a hike. So no, nothing to be ashamed about. I'm right there with you.
Oh, okay, good.
Now, we were talking that your hiking season is about to restart there in Nevada. The temperatures are finally cooling down and there's still plenty of hiking left for 2025. Is there anything exciting on the horizon that we should look out for, whether it's hiking or travel goals?
Oh, man. I don't really think I have a whole lot planned at this point because my Highway 395 trip was my big trip for the year. Well, and I took a bunch of trips before that. But anyway, I'm just really excited to get back into hiking because like you said, hiking season is starting finally in Southern Nevada. And so I'm actually going on Saturday. That'll be my first hike back and I'm really excited. Basically, I just want to do a lot more hikes, but I also would really love to maybe at some point summit a mountain or something. I mean, so many people do it and it's really inspiring. And Red Rock Canyon has Turtlehead Peak, which is not very high at all, but it's still considered a summit. I think that's something that would be outside of my comfort zone. And, as we're saying, you should do things that are hard. As long as you're safe, you should do things that are hard. So I think that's something that I would like to do is possibly find, a smaller mountain and then summit that, see how it goes. And then, I don't know. So I guess we'll see.
Looking forward to what the fall hiking season down in Nevada brings to you. And I know that's a beautiful time there in Nevada and the Southwest. So looking forward to what the fall and winter 2026 has to offer for you.
Thank you so much.
Now, Lyndsay, this last section of the podcast is the this or that questions. I'm going to give you some hiking related topics and you just choose which one you prefer out of the two. You're more than welcome to say both, neither, but the first one is, and I think I know the answer to this one, but when it comes to favorite hiking seasons, are you a summer hiking season or fall hiking season hiker?
Fall. Living where I do now, fall for sure.
Understandable. And this next one's a tough one because both are beautiful and you've seen these in beautiful fashion, but waterfalls or summits?
I'm going to say waterfalls because summits are not something that I have ever done, and it would be very cool to get into it, and maybe I will, but there's something about running water that really is so incredible. So waterfalls, yeah.
And then if you had to choose to reach a summit, would you rather do switchbacks or would you just rather go straight up?
That's like the iconic question, isn't it? So, man, I don't know. Can I say it depends, I guess, on the summit and how long the switchbacks are. I guess I'm going to say switchbacks only because I also have asthma. So going straight up might make me struggle a lot. So I will reluctantly say switchbacks.
And then the most controversial question out of these is, do you prefer trek poles or freehand?
I have never used trekking poles, so freehand. I honestly, another embarrassing thing. I didn't even know trekking poles were really a thing. Like, I didn't notice them until I really got into hiking, like all the time, a couple years ago. So I need to get some. I feel like I should say trekking poles because they're probably a lot more helpful than just trying to go myself. So that one's, I'm going to say freehand only because that's what I currently do. But I think in the future it will be trekking poles.
And this next one, Lyndsay, is about your footwear. Do you wear traditional hiking boots or trail runners?
Hiking boots. I have so many past ankle injuries, which I know you had mentioned that earlier, my rolled ankle. My ankle is actually currently in a brace. While I was on my California trip, it started to hurt again. And so I actually couldn't hike at all because I couldn't walk. But hiking boots, yeah, because I have teens and they are the ones that go like they're mid, so they go above the ankle. And so my ankle feels really protected, which is great. So yes, hiking boots.
And then these next few get a little harder with each one. But when it comes to trail systems, do you prefer a loop trail or an out and back trail?
That's a good one too. So I always thought that I preferred loop trails because you see more. You're not like seeing stuff and then you have to see it again when you come back. But I kind of like out and back. Out and back is better for my trail anxiety because I know I can stop at any point and just turn around if I want. Whereas a loop, you're not sure. But I guess thinking about it in terms of my favorite hikes, they're all loops. So I'm going to say loop, actually, because you get more beauty, I guess. You get to see more. So, yeah, all right. Loop is my final answer.
And then this next one's about trail hazards. If you had to choose between these two types of trail conditions, would you choose a muddy trail or a rocky trail?
Oh, my gosh. Wow, that's a good question. What kind of rocks are we talking? Are we talking like gravel? We've got like boulders we have to like scramble over.
Yeah, I would say it would be more like anywhere from baseball to maybe softball size rocks along the trail, mixed in with, a little bit of gravel.
Man, that's a good question. I guess it depends if it's raining. But even then, okay, so I'm going, I have to think about this one. I strongly dislike hiking on gravel, but I do like going from rock to rock. Like that's something that's really fun, especially in the desert, but it is a little tricky with my ankle. So I'm going to say rock. Mud I'm okay with. When I was in Cuyahoga Valley National Park, it was super muddy that day and it was fun and all of that, but I'm going to go with rock just because I feel like the surface could be a little more stable, maybe. Yeah, rock, final answer.
And then, the Southwest is known for having both of these in stunning fashion. But if you had to choose, would you choose a sunset hike or a sunrise hike?
All right, so that's an easy one, sunset. And the reason for that, another embarrassing thing. So, well, not really. I am not an early morning person. I'm really not a morning person. I never have been my whole life. So I have only seen the sunrise probably a handful of times. I'm a perfect afternoon hiker. Like 2 to 6 is like my perfect hiking time. So I tend to see lots of sunsets. I will say that the sunsets in the desert are incredible. I love the California sunsets, all of that, but in the desert, when I moved to Vegas, I still can't believe it when we get these sunsets when we have clouds. They are really beautiful. And because where I am is Vegas is a bowl, and so you can see the sky all the way around. So yeah, I'm going to say sunset then.
And then this next one is a challenging one as well, but spring wildflowers or fall colors?
I'm going to say wildflowers because, so I hiked a lot this last spring, and I think that was the first spring that I hiked as much as I did. So I really noticed all of the flowers that were growing. You know, we've got the cactus flowers and we've got wildflowers in the desert, and it's a pop of color to an otherwise mostly beige desert. So they really stand out. And, you know, I love plants in general, but flowers, when they're only here for a little bit of time, you just appreciate them a lot more. And it really makes everything so pretty. And we've been lucky this summer that we've actually had flowers in certain places still throughout summer. And while I do love the foliage in terms of here, because we really don't get a lot of foliage actually, yeah, I'm going to say flowers. Yeah, wildflowers.
I gotta agree with you. Like, this spring was a remarkable wildflower season here in the Pacific Northwest, but even just 2 weeks ago, I was still coming across some wildflowers in the mountains, which is rare for things in September. So yeah, it's been a pleasant surprise to see them still out thriving even this late into the summer season.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, this next one is new for this season, and this was actually something that was inspired by Becca because she converted me to tablets. But when it comes to electrolytes, do you prefer the powdered drinks or drinks like Gatorade, Powerade, or tablets?
I don't really drink electrolytes, which is bad because I know you're supposed to. But man, so I guess I've always preferred powder, but I did used to use those Noon tablets. I would use those a lot, and I was an ambassador for them a long time ago. So really, I guess packets or tablets either, because they're easy to open and just put in your water bottle. Like, I'll drink Gatorade Zero if I need to, but otherwise, I try to avoid food dyes and all that. So I guess packet/tablet. I'm gonna have to ask Becca what tablets. Or is that what she was telling you about, tablets? Or
yeah, she had some. I forgot what the brand is, but you can get them at REI, and there's a bunch of different flavors now. They're kind of like breath mints, almost a little bit smaller, and you just pop them. You don't need water or anything. You can just chew them and do them. So that's what I love them. And then also, I do love the powdered, but sometimes, especially if it's a long hike and you're refilling your water bottle, you just keep getting that taste of electrolyte powder every once in a while.
Yeah, which is gross. Man, I did not know about these tablets, and now that you've told me this. Okay, so you just put them in your mouth, you don't need water, and if you get your electrolyte, yeah, I'm going to ask her what those are, because that then will be my answer.
Yeah, I've been intrigued, and she had them on the trail, and I've been primarily using them for the summer hiking because, yeah, it's super easy. Pop 2, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that.
Now, this next one, Lyndsay, is super hard. It's one of our hardest ones this season. If you had to choose between these two, would you choose bug bites or sunburns?
Bug bites or sunburns, I guess. I say that because I have a sunburn right now. I'm going to say that because here's the thing. We're very lucky in Vegas. We don't really have a lot of biting bugs. We don't really have mosquitoes. Fleas and ticks are in the mountains, but not down here. So I guess I'm kind of biased because I will get sunburns all the time and not get bug bites. But thinking back to my time living in Ohio and getting mosquito bites all the time, they're just itchy. I don't like them. Sunburns are not great. They're awful, and I'm so bad for you. But they fade and then turn into a little tan. So I guess so I'm just gonna go with sunburn, but I'm gonna give that one a thought. I just really don't want bugs biting me. So yeah, sunburn.
And, you've had to experience this in the Southwest and then also in Ohio in the winter months. But when it comes to these trail hazards, would you rather do a stream crossing or cross a snowfield?
Stream crossing. I'm not a huge snow person. Having 25 winters in lake effect snow, I'm good on that. So stream crossing, I love water. I love getting in water when I'm hiking, as long as I'm wearing the proper shoes and all that. So yeah, stream for sure.
And then the last one is when it comes to your pack list, are you an ultralight packer or do you like to carry luxury items?
So I can only answer that in terms of hiking because I've not backpacked. Even if I backpack, I will probably be the luxury item person. I have just a lot of like nuances and idiosyncrasies that I have that I think, I don't know, that I'm an overpacker basically at my core. I always like to have extra things. So, when I pack, I have like a tripod with me. I have all this stuff with me. So I would say I am not an ultralight traveler.
I love it. Yeah, I still don't know how some of these trail runners do it with just a little water vest and that's all they carry. Like, I still need my day pack full of treats, water, tripod.
Yeah, I've got my backpack. I've got all my snacks. I've got, I bring a ton of water with me. That is an anxiety I have, is running out of water, especially just being in the desert. Yeah, I've got my tripod. I have a hat. I have like makeup in there too if I want to like fix my eyeliner or something. Usually I don't care, but it's there if I need it. Yeah, that I take everything with me.
Well, Lyndsay, that was it for the this or that questions. For folks that want to follow your upcoming journeys or look back at some of the amazing experiences that you've had over the last couple of years, where are some of the places they can follow you both on social media and online?
Yeah, so really the only place I am online for hiking is my Instagram at Lyndsay Travels. And yeah, I have a blog, but that's not related to hiking. I have other, Facebook, Instagram, all that, but that's not related to hiking. So I just kind of keep that away. So really all I have is my Instagram account. Yeah.
We'll be sure to link your Instagram in the episode show notes, and I definitely recommend folks, if they haven't seen the Is It Water or Sky video, go check it out and let Lyndsay know in the comments what you think. Well, Lyndsay, it has been a blast talking with you. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your afternoon to speak with us, and I look forward to seeing what 2025 has to bring for you.
Thank you so much. It was great being here, and I really appreciate you having me on as a guest.
And that brings us to the end of this episode alongside Lyndsay. We extend a heartfelt thanks to them for joining us on the podcast. Be sure to follow them on Instagram at Lyndsay Travels and by checking out the episode show notes. This episode of Hikes and Mics was produced by Jordan Smith. Be sure to follow her adventures on Instagram at jordan.journeys. New episodes will drop every Monday throughout the fall hiking season, with occasional Friday bonus episodes sprinkled in. To make sure you never miss a moment of these inspiring trail stories, hit the follow or subscribe button. Your support truly keeps this community growing. Don't forget to connect with us on Instagram at Hikes and Mics. That's where you'll find behind-the-scenes episode visuals, my own hiking adventures, and plenty more to keep the fall inspiration flowing. As we wrap up today's journey, remember, the trails may be covered in leaves, but the spirit of adventure is wide open. So tread those happy trails, breathe in that crisp autumn air, and keep exploring. Until next time, my fellow hikers, happy hiking. This episode's music was created by Ketsa. Follow him on Instagram at Ketsa Music. This episode is brought to you by Ursa Minor Outfitters. Folks, I'm absolutely in love with my loon mug. It's handmade. It's an absolute piece of art. Whether it's at the office or at the house, people keep asking to check it out. If you're not a loon fan, they also have other beautiful mugs for wildlife fans of moose, bears, and eagles. They specialize in products highlighting the outdoors and local pride through quality design by local artists. They've even started expanding into items beyond mugs, like apparel, dog accessories, and soon candles and more. They also try to partner and highlight other small businesses, and in some cases, forego profits in lieu of charitable giving to help their community, such as the dog rescue. So check them out, UrsaMinorOutfitters.com, and enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order. And for our four-legged hiking partners, they also have a portable silicone dog bowl and also a sweet over-the-collar dog bandana. Go check them out, UrsaMinorOutfitters.com, and don't forget to enter promo code HikesMikes10 at checkout to receive 10% off your order.